Davy Crockett, Jim Bowie, William Travis. They all had their names etched into history at the Alamo, and now so can you. The Alamo is undergoing upgrades and additions that will transform this historic site into a world-class destination, like a state-of-the-art museum, augmented reality experience, and much more. Now, the Alamo needs your donations to meet its goal. You could even have your name on a star at the Visitor Center, or a personalized paver. So you won't just help preserve Alamo history, you'll become part of it. Donate today at thealamo.org.
Stories bigger than Texas, the Alamo podcast. It fired the shot that started the siege of the Alamo. The 18-pounder cannon's place in Alamo history is now taking physical shape on the grounds of the historic site. Today, we reveal the new exhibit showcasing its role in the world-famous battle, the hands-on features to help people understand the weight of warfare, and how it unlocks an even older era of Alamo history. I'm your host, Emily Baucom. Today we're joined by Ernesto Rodriguez, the Alamo Senior Curator and Historian, and Kolby Lanham, the Alamo Senior Researcher and Historian. Thank you both for being here.
It's my pleasure.
Happy to be here.
For those who are not familiar with the story of the 18-pounder cannon, please refresh our memories.
The 18-pounder plays a very pivotal role in the 12-day siege and lead up to the Battle of the Alamo on March 6, 1836. This cannon was likely a smaller 9 or 12-pound gun. It was bored out to accommodate a much larger 18-pound projectile and then brought by sea into a port near Matagorda and then brought overland by a man named John Little and others who brought it over to the Alamo. And then, of course, it's used to fire the opening shots of the 12-day siege by William Barrett Travis and others.
It was fired towards San Fernando Cathedral. What was important about that?
That's where the Mexican army is gathering. That was kind of the main square, one of the main squares in the city at the time. And the Texans are trying to send a message. And by doing so, the Mexican army ends up sending a message of their own by raising the red flag of no quarter. So that is what we would mark as the beginning of the siege.
And as we've talked about before on the podcast, the original 18-pounder cannon was lost to time.
Yeah, so the 18-pounder after the Battle of the Alamo will be in the possession of the Mexican army, but after Sam Houston defeats Santa Anna at the Battle of San Jacinto on April 21st, Santa Anna will send a letter in May telling the Mexican soldiers in San Antonio to go ahead and take down portions of the Alamo walls, take the Alamo cannons and do away with them. And he kind of gives them leeway. You can either toss them in the river or you can bury them, do as you see fit. And so they bury them in the defensive ditches around the Alamo. The 18-pounder is no different. If it wasn't already off of its carriage, it was removed from, rolled in a nearby ditch and then buried. And it won't be found until about 1858.
The Alamo was able to make a replica using period photographs and modern technology.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So myself, Ernesto, and others worked really hard with a firm out of Boerne, Texas, to take a couple of historic images of the 18-pounder. You know, the 18-pounder disappeared. Around 1917, it's gone from photos, and we don't know where it went. And so we can't just go measure it. So we had to use historical images. The firm, SRO, put it into a program, and we're able to get rough measurements off of this program. And then Ernesto and I went out to San Pedro Springs Park, and there was a limestone plinth that it sat on. And we got those measurements. And then lastly, there's a photograph of a man who's sitting on the cannon. And in the photograph, we found out who the gentleman was. We found his World War I draft card, which gave us his height. And all of that together gave us rough estimates of how large this gun was. We had copies made out of foam, and then eventually made out of it kind of a ceramic mold. And then we cast an original iron 18-pound gun. Weighs about 2,000 pounds. And that's one we go shoot on a regular basis.
For fundraisers.
Yeah.
Well, that's some really important background as we talk about the Alamo's brand new southwest corner and 18-pounder cannon exhibit. It is right alongside the reopened Paseo del Alamo, the connection to the Riverwalk that Ernesto we talked about last episode. Now, some people might remember that in 2021, we opened a temporary version of this exhibit. But this one, it's the real deal that we've been planning for many years.
Yes, it is. The one that we had before, the way it was constructed was it placed the 18-pounder on the level that you would have been at in 1836, which was incredible because that was the first time since then that you could stand at the right level and look around. The problem was that it was temporary. You also had a lot of logistical issues with it. Now with the new exhibit, you'll see an 18-pounder up there. It's an incredible reproduction of our 18 pounder, and it weighs a lot less. So it's a lot safer for the construction, but it's a place where you're going to learn about the history of the site, and you're going to learn about that cannon. You're going to learn about artillery in general, but you're also going to learn about what that corner was used for. It's an important corner. It was a workshop. Lozoya was born in a little house on the other side of that wall.
Toribio Lozoya. That's why his statue's there.
Yeah, Toribio Lozoya's family, he was born right outside the walls in a house that was owned by the family. Still mission land. Still the Alamo, still, part of Valero, but it was right outside. The workshop was inside. But it's one of those things that we're able to tell that story, and it connects the dots to our history. And that's what's really important. We want to tell the story of the Alamo as a whole. And in order to do so, we want to talk about the people that were in that area. And when I say area, I mean that entire corner. It's a really special spot because guess what you're going to see when you walk up those stairs? The 18 pounder, first thing.
When you walk up the stairs from the Riverwalk.
From the Riverwalk.
You can also access it street level.
Mm-hmm.
As we talked about last episode, the Paseo connects the Alamo to downtown through the Riverwalk and through street level. And with this new exhibit, it's not like the temporary one where you went up a bunch of stairs to go see the cannon exhibit. You'll experience it from ground level.
Yes, that's the most important thing. We want accessibility.
How will it help people better envision the battlefield footprint?
I think in a number of different ways. So with the old exhibit, you could go up on top of it, but there wasn't really much to gain necessarily from going up there. Now you can have more access to that area from the ground. You can see the 18 pounder, but inside of the building is hollow. Whereas before it was just a square and there was no way to interact with it. You can go in, you can feel the weight of several different cannonballs we've had made so kids can walk over and feel that weight, adults too, if you're into that. We've also got all kinds of different panels, and we have some custom illustrations that are done to show different scenes in Alamo history. And then we were able to get the original 18 pounder plinth from San Pedro Springs Park, and it will be installed there. The city was kind enough to loan that to us on a very long loan, and so it'll be on prominent display.
And there are hands-on features that will help people understand what it was like back in 1836 to physically mount a cannon that high.
Yes. So one of the things about this exhibit, we've heard it from a lot of different people. They wish the ramp was still there, that the ramp that was used by the Texans was in place. Unfortunately, that would block a vital roadway in case of an emergency. We'd have this giant ramp there, and it's not doable. So what we did instead is we've marked out where the ramp would have sat in stone on the ground, and then there's an interactive that has a cannon, and you can grab handles on this large rail and push. You probably won't be able to do it by yourself. It'll take you and a couple friends, but then you can push this up this little ramp, and it'll give you an idea of how much it would have taken to move a cannon of that size.
Something I always want people to know who listen to the podcast is that you two are not just historians who work in these book-filled rooms, although your offices have a lot of books. You like to go outside and really work with the artifacts and understand how this battle unfolded. And so you two are both involved in creating this exhibit to help people have that understanding.
Yeah, I think, and Ernesto, you can chime in too. Ernesto and I are part of an older breed of historian and really what we would call public historians, where you do a lot of work in books and archives. But once that heavy lifting is done, you go out and you interact with the public and you see how they're going to interact with the site. It's extremely important because, Ernesto said it many times in the past, we're in the people business. Despite what people may think, this is a people business, and we want people to come onto our site and leave with a better understanding of what we are, who we are, and what took place here. And I think this new exhibit's going to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. The fact that you're able to manipulate something and move it and give you that idea of what it weighs means a lot, because they'll see us moving things around, but the public doesn't get to help you move these things around. So they'll ask, is it heavy? And you're like, yeah, it is, but
And kids ask that a lot.
Kids
And you
always
both
ask.
want kids to understand.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And this gives you that idea, when you see something that says 8 pounder, 18 pounder, 12 pounder, and you're actually able to lift with a mechanism, but lift it up and you can see how heavy that actually is. It's different because it's dead weight. And people don't realize that, when you tell our visitors when they come and they go, well, how much does that weigh? And you're like, well, that's an 8-pound ball. And so you have to tell them, okay, a big sack of sugar. And they look at you like, okay. Well, now they're going to be able to lift it and actually feel the weight.
Yeah, and I think when I first started working here, Ernesto was probably a similar situation for you. I saw a lot of children coming to our site being pulled by their parents, by their hand, and they're going to see something very significant. But for a young child, maybe that's not so evident. And there's a certain age threshold, probably 7th grade, when they start to kind of understand the gravity of the situation. These interactives and the new exhibits that we're doing, we have put a lot of historical knowledge in the forefront, but also the needs and wants of children so they can understand at their level too. And it's important because they're the key to what we're doing in the future. Long after we're gone, maybe these kids grow up to be historians or they carry the story of the Alamo with them.
I sure hope so. Ernesto, as you said, this exhibit will also honor the people who lived in that specific part of the Alamo community. Tell us about how the exhibit will help unlock that different era of Alamo history.
Well, the thing is that when you think about the Battle of the Alamo, most people think about the Battle of the Alamo. They don't think about what happened before, what happened after, right? And well, in order for you to understand the battle, you need to understand that the importance of the site. And it's a community. People are living here in this area for generations. People are still living in this area that were from the descendants of the missions, that are descendants of the defenders of the Alamo. But when you think about the ability to be able to showcase that here's a family that basically was living in this part of the mission compound, whether it's on the outside wall, whether they're using the inside wall, they're on the mission grounds. And it's really important because that brings it home. That shows you that this isn't just a place that was built and no one occupied it. This is a place that some people called home. This is a place that people called their workspace. This is a place where interactions happened peacefully and then more violently in 1836. It's a site that changed the course of American history. And right now, we're in the middle of celebrating the Texas Revolution's 190th anniversary, and we're also in the middle of celebrating America's 250th anniversary. With these connections, people will start to look and say, they were real. It's not like, we made these people up. And that's one of those questions that popped up many years ago. I remember Dr. Winters was doing a tour, and he did a tour of a new exhibit we had in 2005. And afterwards, one of the people on his tour looked at him and said, I didn't know Crockett was a real person. When you bring the human element in, it makes people truly understand that this is a people story.
This is more than a place where artillery was fired. Imagine if you were living in this area, if this was like literally your living room where someone was trying to fire a cannon. That's a different element.
Yes, and imagine this is your home. What do? You defend it. People are fighting for their homes, literally. And so it's a really important thing. This exhibit will allow us to showcase that history, bring the human element back in, while still talking about everything else, which is the elements of science through the artillery. What else can you do? You can see that. You could see San Fernando Church from here. Can you see it today? No, because there's buildings in the way. So it allows you to have a glimpse into the past through an exhibit.
Kolby, when we were preparing for this episode, you gave a great note that this whole exhibit is a great example of historic adaptive reuse. What do you mean by that?
When you're in the exhibit space, kind of what Ernesto touched on is, the human element that's there. That was a real building. It was present during the Battle of the Alamo, but it was also present prior to that during the mission. It was owned by Concepcion Charlie. It belonged to her father, but then it belongs to her later. And I always think about her because she owns that property until 1852. She sells it to Samuel Maverick, believe it or not. She witnessed the Battle of Bihar. She witnessed the Mexican army fleeing into the Alamo when they lose the town in December of 1835. She watches them roll cannons into the river. And then after the battle is over with, they go back and they find their property is in pretty bad shape. And so as an older woman, she ends up selling the remaining walls and small jackals that are left, and they disappear from history. So this exhibit's going to change all of that. It's going to kind of transport you back in time and let you get a glimpse of what the Alamo once was. There's a portion of the new exhibit that looks pristine, and then there's going to be exposed brick, the adobe brick, as would have been in the 1800s. And as Ernesto said, you'll look through a couple different windows. In one window, you'll see the approach of the Mexican army storming the walls, and the other one, you'll see San Fernando Cathedral, which is really cool.
I understand we went to great lengths to recreate what this house would have been made out of. Things like touchable limestone, adobe walls, traditional building methods.
There's a lot of different ways and a lot of different people who were involved in that. The first time we did this exhibit, we also did a lot of legwork. We had a researcher go to the Aturi Edmonds house, which is an older adobe home here in San Antonio. A piece of their wall had happened to fall off recently. And so we were able to go and look and see the exposed brick and straw. The other part of to that is that archaeological records show that in the 1970s, Ann Fox and others uncovered portions of the original wall. So some of that was sampled to give you, you as a visitor, a better understanding of what the building would have been made out of using modern materials that are touchable.
Very cool. We talked on the last episode about the Paseo, about how porous the site is. People can get here from so many different directions. The Riverwalk is clearly one of the most popular approaches. When people come up from the Riverwalk and see the southwest corner and 18-pounder cannon exhibit, what do you hope that they think and they feel?
My thing will be, I hope that as they come up and they see that cannon peeking from above the walls, that it'll draw them into the site. It'll draw them to history. And that's what my goal is. And it'll be through a very pleasant experience, right? You'll be able to walk up through the flowing water and get up. And once you get on top, you will be in an area where you are going to be exposed to the history of the site, the history of the Alamo. That's what I'm hoping that people will be attracted to.
For me, if you go down the Lower Paseo closer to the Hyatt Regency Hotel, we just put a cannon down there for the entrance to one of the lobby spaces. Myself and Thomas Ledesma, who's been on the podcast many times, we're working, we're sweating, we turn, and he kind of points, he's like, look at it. And we turn and we look, and there's the 18-pounder. And for the first time that I'm aware of, we can look up and see this cannon as the Mexican Army would have seen it, as some of the Texans who may have, rode their horses out of the compound to carry dispatches would have saw it, because the old exhibit had kind of a artist interpretation of what it would look like. You couldn't see, you couldn't really see the cannon. Now you can see the gun. And I think that's really cool. And just talking about right now kind of gives me goosebumps, because no one's really seen that until this, 190 years. So
and now everybody can.
Yeah, it really draws you to the site.
Ernesto Rodriguez and Kolby Lanham, thank you so much for joining us.
It has been my pleasure.
Thank you.
Be sure to check out the podcast notes. We've linked to photos and videos of the Southwest Corner and 18-pounder cannon exhibit, plus how you can plan your visit to come to the Alamo and see it in person. You've been listening to Stories Bigger Than Texas, the Alamo Podcast.